What's up YouTube? Wanted to make a quick instructional video on how to go about purchasing a scooter, especially if you're newer to the segment. So the very first thing you're gonna do is not look at scooters at all. Just sit down and write out the primary use of the vehicle, what you wanna be able to accomplish, the roads that you wanna travel on, the speeds it needs to maintain, write down your rider weight. Think about the traffic patterns. If you have a lot of 55-mile-per-hour roads, but the traffic travels at 60 to 65 miles per hour, you're going to need to up your intended cruising speed. Also consider the conditions of the pavement, if it's going to be bumpy terrain or if it's well paved, if you want to do any off-roading, if you're planning on touring, the length of time you want to be riding the bike, if it's going to be short trips or long, multi-hour excursions, whether or not you want to have the ability to ride with a passenger and the weight requirements of that. Also consider the minimal storage capacity under the seat, if you're going to be using a full face helmet or if you want to be able to use the bike for grocery runs. So once you have this list compiled, you want to review all the different points and mark which ones are absolute necessities versus wants. And then the last question to ask yourself is if you need one bike to accomplish all the things on this list, or if you're open to the idea of having multiple bikes, maybe a combination of a scooter and a motorcycle. The general consensus among scooter enthusiasts is that you want to choose the smallest possible bike that allows you to accomplish the riding that you're trying to do. We're going to go through all the different engine class categories and talk about their abilities, and you want to determine which engine class category is necessary to meet the needs that you've written out on your list. The 50cc class category is the cheapest way to get started on a scooter. These bikes usually weigh under 200 pounds. They're super compact. They cruise between 30 and 40 miles per hour depending on your weight. You can practically park them anywhere you would be able to park a bicycle. In a lot of different states, you don't even need a motorcycle license to operate one. This could be a great option for anyone trying to weave in and out of heavily congested inner cities, or if anyone is just looking for the cheapest possible transportation to and from work or school, as long as that lower top speed allows you to do that. The 125 to 200cc category is the sweet spot for a lot of people looking for a local commuting scooter. There's good storage, great fuel economy. The weight of the bikes is usually under 325 pounds, so they're really easy to move around the garage. The fun factor of this category cannot be overstated. It's really fun to ride a slow bike fast, and this weight and engine size just nails it. The rate of acceleration on the higher end, going from 50 to 65 miles per hour is a lot slower than the next size up, so you don't have the same passing power. Also, with the lighter weight and the shorter wheelbase, they don't feel quite as stable at higher speeds, but usually what gets everyone up to the next class is the need for highway use or a bike that's better designed for passengers. This is that category for someone looking for a super versatile scooter that can do a little bit of everything. The engines are more than capable of traveling at highway speeds. They have longer wheelbases and they're heavier, so they feel more stable at those speeds. They're a little less nimble than the 150, 200cc class. There's a lot of variety within this category, so if you're more focused on local commuting, look at the units that are closer to 400 pounds with shorter wheelbases. If you're looking for something that's super stable at highway speeds and great for passengers, you might want to go with one of the units that has the longest wheelbase and closer to 500 pounds. So this is the big boy class, heaviest, fastest, most stable highway machine. A scooter with touring the country in mind. You won't find anything faster or more stable, but you're definitely sacrificing the local commuting benefits of the mid-size category. So at this point, you should have a good idea of what your ideal scooter entails. This is going to be the slide that forces you to make a lot of hard decisions. This is a helpful matrix to let you know in each class category, the preferred budget you would want if you're buying new or used. If you're working with the preferred budget on the target class category that you're after, a lot of options are going to be available to you. You're not going to have to worry about price affecting your selection process. The adequate budget, you're going to be more limited in the models that you're able to consider. If you're working with the lean budget on the new side, you're going to have to start considering the cheaper brands. Shoestring budget, you're really going to be limited to the cheapest manufacturers on the new side. A lot of what is driving these numbers on the new side is the dealership fees, the freight fees, the taxes that are added on. So that's considering the total at the door cost, which is what it's ultimately going to cost you, not the sticker price that gets you initially interested in the unit. On the used side, the categories work very much the same way, but with the shoestring, you're not dipping down to the cheaper manufacturers. You might just be getting a higher mileage unit or an older discontinued model. Working with adequate or lean budgets for the target class you're after, I encourage you to consider used units in your selection process or revisit your needs. So hopefully you're working with an adequate budget. It definitely gives you a lot of flexibility in the purchasing process. This slide gives you a nice overview of the pros and cons when you're considering buying new versus used. Take your time and think through what route you want to take, and then ultimately settle on a defined budget. The next step is to build a comprehensive list of all the models offered by the major manufacturers that fit your price point and target class. If you're working with a lean or shoestring budget, also check out Wolf Scooters, Tao Tao, and Ice Bear. Visit the dealerships and interact with each. There's going to be ones that look really good on paper, but when you get in person, the fit and ergonomics just aren't right for you. You may also find that designs that didn't quite appeal to you really start to make sense. If you're interested in the 450cc and up class, it's really only the Kymco AK550 in new production, so you're gonna have to look at used units like the Suzuki Bergman 650 or the 650 offering from BMW. When you're doing these in-person evaluations, pay special attention to the seat height. Make sure you're able to flat foot the unit. Also the seat positioning. Some units are going to put you seating more upright, whereas others have a more sunken position, and you're definitely going to have a preference there. Make notes of the different designs and if there's any added functionality that you appreciate. The step-through design makes it really easy to get on and off the bike, as well as gives you unlimited feeding positions on the floorboard. Note if any of the models have different size tires than the others. Larger tires, those are going to be feeling more stable at higher speeds and smooth out the pavement of the road, whereas the smaller tires like the Vespa 12 inches are going to feel a little more nimble and agile in the handling. Also note any difference in the wheelbases. Ones with shorter wheelbases are going to be a little bit better at local commuting, whereas the larger wheelbases are going to feel more stable on highways. Dividing the horsepower of the unit by its total wet weight is going to give you the power to weight ratio. Laying out the key stats of models you're interested in side by side can help clearly identify a few differences. The very high power to weight ratio, the Beverly, stands out along with its large front tire. The low weight of the X-Max and shorter wheelbase suggests it might be a better local commuter than the others, whereas the longer wheelbase and weight of the Bergman stands out for highways. Once you've identified the model you're interested in, be sure to reference reviews and YouTube videos as well as online forums to be sure that the model is capable of doing the things that you want it to do. If you're on the heavier side, don't be afraid to ask questions about how rider weight affects that particular unit's performance. If this is your very first bike purchase ever, it might be a good idea to start small and buy used. A smaller bike will be beneficial during the learning process, and as you gain experience, your needs and desires will likely change.